Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Grandon Group Presents The LOCKBOX, brought to you by the Grandon Group, Arizona's #1 brother and sister team, and our incredible sponsor, VIP Mortgage, the Hendricks team. How you doing, Angela?
How are you?
What's going on?
Oh, it's hot. It's humid.
It is like super. I feel like we're in Florida.
I know. I'm glad I'm only wearing one sleeve.
You left the other part back there.
Yeah, for sure.
So
we gotta buy one, get one somewhere.
Yeah.
So we got a great show today, I think.
Yeah, I'm excited.
All the shows are great, but today's extra special because we get we get texts and emails and all this, and people are like, "Hey, is this a real estate show?" And yes, it's a real estate show, but what better to sell Arizona than the people that are helping run Arizona, build Arizona, create Arizona?
Absolutely.
Don't you agree?
I agree.
And so we'll do a lead in with this because I know this ties in with realtors and lenders. And so the Hendricks team is probably like one of the best mortgage teams out there.
The best.
It is the best.
The best, yes.
You're working with my aunt, I think, on a loan too.
Well, that makes sense.
So she's happy.
Yeah.
And trust me, I'm glad she's happy.
Yes,
but so today I wanted to talk real quick about integrity. And so one of the great things that makes Arizona fantastic is I believe there's a lot of integrity. Now, if you read the media, depending, we don't really get into the politics, but in real estate, it's important to have integrity. So politics, not so much because we've got some clowns out there that are getting removed. But we'll get into that. It'll be a perfect lead-in for this. But integrity in real estate and lending, don't you think it's kind of important?
It's extremely important. I would say maybe the most important thing.
and it's the lack of integrity in this business and any business that gives things bad names.
Absolutely.
So if you don't have any integrity in lending,
yes,
real estate, politics, whatever,
absolutely,
you see your name plastered all over the place, right?
Right.
So it's important for people to, interview.
Yeah, for sure. Interview, know who you're working with. I think a lot of times too, don't just assume everybody's the same. Right? All lenders are the same or all realtors are the same. Do your homework.
No, absolutely. You have to listen to the client.
Fit. Yeah, exactly.
So, because not every area is the same. I mean, obviously, some parts of Phoenix have a different personality than parts of Scottsdale and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it.
So, it's been a wild year, right?
Super wild.
Just with everything going on.
Yeah,
so, as we get towards the end of the year, we have the elections coming up and stuff like that. And so today we have somebody who I want to say represents the word integrity for Arizona.
Love that.
And the reason I say that is she is, so originally when I met her, we've kind of been friends on Facebook and all that stuff, but she was the one that helped start all this stuff that's going on with the schools. All the bad stuff going on, she's been like in the forefront of fighting it, which is great. She's gotten parents involved, and I kind of think she started a national movement with this, and it really helped out. And you're starting to see the things change in the schools because you have young kids too.
I do, yeah. I have a 12-year-old, so
it's important that these things happen and you have leaders like this. So we are introducing you to Shawna Bolick. Is that how you say it?
Correct.
All right.
Thank you.
And Shawna is running for Secretary of State for Arizona.
Okay. Nice.
So I don't think we have a Secretary of State right now, but
not a good one. I'm allowed to say my opinion on here, right?
You can give your opinion, absolutely. So, no, Shawna's going out there to run for Secretary of State. And so, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, guys, for inviting me. I typically don't do a lot of interviews. I obviously checked you out and said, lockbox, what does that exactly mean? Because I think of a different meaning when I think of lockbox. So my name is Shawna Bolick, and I am a current state representative for Legislative District 20, which is part of North Phoenix, part of Glendale, and part of Peoria. And, I've been down there since January 2019. I got elected in November 2018 for my first term. I served my first term honorably and just got elected again for my second term in November 2020. And I live in a very competitive district, very purple district. It's basically cut 33% across the three major parties. So I have to be careful whenever I'm out talking to people about things and what we're doing at the legislature. I usually give them my most down-to-earth response for things, whether I'm at the grocery store or standing in line, at Target or somewhere with my kids. I talk to a lot of people and just ask them kind of what's on their mind. Obviously, I get lots of emails into my office, and they tell me what's on their mind. So one reason why I decided to step up to run for Secretary of State, first of all, our office holder right now has so hyper-partisan, and she has so politicized that office. And that office should be Switzerland. Whenever you're going to vote, you shouldn't know someone's voting registration walking in or walking out. You shouldn't know how they voted. You should be treated very neutrally and fairly whenever you go into their office, whether it's a business filing or if it's got an elections complaint. And I don't believe that we have somebody who is serving honorably in that position right now, always having lawsuits going on, always kind of poking at the other party. I've already told people, as conservative as I am and as involved I am with grassroots politics, I will be checking that at the door whenever I win, and I will be serving people, whether you're a Democrat, Independent, or Republican. And I personally think that's the best direction to go in light of what has been going on in Arizona politics for the last couple of years.
No, and Arizona normally is just great when it comes to that, and that's how it should be. You should have leaders that don't see politics side, right?
Correct.
So what is the Secretary of State besides election?
Well, she handles a lot of the paperwork. So whenever we're voting on bills, and basically they house our archives. So the state has, well, her office has closed down a lot of the stuff over the last year or so in the name of COVID. So there's been no school tours coming into the old Capitol to see the Capitol Museum that she oversees. Ledge Council now, because of a bill that we had at the end of session, Legislative Council will be taking over that for the rest of her term. We need that building open. We're looking at renovating part of it and using it for meeting space and allowing tours back in, letting the kids actually see some history of Arizona. I mean, it's a great building. I really wish that we were actually serving in the old Capitol. It's very historical, very beautiful building. I mean, our Capitol is just kind of dingy. It needs big upgrades, you know. You need someone to come in with a jackhammer and really improve upon it. But she handles a lot of the state papers and business filings, and you know the office has been closed to the public for the most part for the last year or so.
And the Secretary of State also handles like lobbyists. So
filings, yep.
Right.
So I've had friends who have reached out to me who are lobbyists, because I do see a lot of lobbyists come to my office, not as many as other members, but they've been saying that for the last year, if they hadn't known somebody inside of her office, they would have never been able to get their papers filed in time.
Wow.
So it's depressing to me that the door is closed, and Arizona is supposed to be open for business. We have so many people moving to Arizona right now, and we have a lot of entrepreneurs who are moving here, a lot of homegrown entrepreneurs, and if they're not filing their papers on time, I think that's a bit of a problem.
No, absolutely, absolutely. In Arizona, we've got like 300 people a day moving here.
Yeah, it's incredible. And there's no end in sight, right?
No, I don't see anything coming
Right?
in sight. So
A lot of U-Hauls I see on the road.
Yeah, exactly. I was behind one on the way here, actually.
and a lot of drivers that don't know the right lane and the left lane.
They must be a California driver.
So you made a big jump. I mean, so the education was a big deal for you here not too long ago.
Yes. So I've spent most of my life helping with families get better educational opportunities. I've spent my time since about mid-20s, I'm 46 now, helping families navigate whether it's going to a district school, a charter school, homeschool, private school, potentially applying for a scholarship through the tax credit program, or now obviously navigating the ESA, the Empowerment Scholarship accounts. And we will go into different areas and different pockets of the state with maybe schools that don't have the zip codes that don't have the best schools, and just tell them, hey, you actually have choices to go to other schools. Mm-hmm. You don't have to send your kid to a D or an F school. You know, if you actually pull up your computer and open up your maps on there, you can actually see that there's a B or C, charter school, or you can open enroll in another district school down the road. Some parents have no idea, and with all the people that are moving here, they don't realize what a mecca for school choice Arizona is. We are usually known for being the number one for school choice programs. Sometimes we flip back and forth with Florida. Florida has a lot of educational opportunities for kids as well. I think they're number 2 right now, and I think we're 1 from some like Center for Education Reform ranking. But that's something that we should be talking about when we're recruiting businesses to move here. Families are moving here; they don't know. Their employer should know some of this stuff. Their HR department should say, "Hey, do you realize that if you live here, you don't have to actually send your kid to that school?" I'm from Pennsylvania originally. We had 2 choices. Either I go to the district school, which I did, or I go to Catholic school and wear a hideous uniform that I didn't want to wear. My brother chose the Catholic school for high school, and I chose to stay in K-12 district school, and I think I turned out fine. I have nothing against district schools, but if the school's not performing, you need competition. And I see that in my own district. I live in Paradise Valley Unified. My daughter is actually a district school student. She open enrolled out of our boundaries and went to a different school. And she's thriving. She loves it. She was at a charter school for a couple years. She liked that. From K to 5, I think she was at a charter school, absolutely loved the curriculum, but she wanted something different. My son just graduated last year from BASIS, and now he's over at ASU. I mean, he has the true STEM background and wants to be a mechanical engineer. So every kid shouldn't go to a BASIS or a Great Hearts, but it's great that we actually have these wonderful charter schools here. And we're actually exporting them to other states.
Oh, wow. That's
Absolutely. Cool. So the Secretary of State actually works close with the superintendent, or at least should, with the lobbyists and stuff, it seems to me.
I don't know. So I was recruited to run for just about every single position out there except for mine inspector. I don't have the background to be mine inspector, so I think that was why
You just need a hat and a pick.
Well, you have to actually have worked in the mining business and have some experience before running for that, because you don't want just some random person stepping into that position and having no idea what they're doing and don't have the expertise. But I was actually recruited to run for, superintendent of public instruction. They're like, that would be the most natural fit for you. I said, do you realize for how many years I've been fighting with the teacher unions? There's probably a bank account somewhere to come after me if I ever choose to run for something like that. I've already heard that there's between $12 to $20 million set aside to come after whoever runs and wins on the GOP side for Secretary of State. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to back down. I'm pretty level-headed about stuff. I need to see data and information before I usually jump to speak. So, the audit's going on and I'm like, I want to see the report. I want to see the evidence. I lived through the month of voting in Arizona, which a lot of states don't have. And I saw problems. I referred a lot of them over to the Attorney General's Elections Integrity Unit. We got a phone call. I was in my office yesterday trying to get my computer fixed, which unfortunately they couldn't. But we got a phone call. Someone was still reporting to my office about a problem that they saw on Election Day last November. So for me, I'm like, there's definitely issues. To the extent of what they might be, I don't know until we get the report with all the data and evidence backing it up. My campaign consultant, he's also a pollster, so he shows me some of the data that comes in from the county recorder's office and gets uploaded, so you can see data files of chunks of voters, whether they're newly registered, because the current Secretary of State, she was allowing same-day voter registration, which is not part of Arizona's revived statute. So she was outside of her domain, as everybody knows. She went to court, Perkins Coie, hey, hello, we need to actually go do something. She stopped actually doing the voting registration whenever she saw that Republicans were actually coming ahead. So for me, it's like she was doing things out of her boundaries. She was not following statute. And, Adrian Fontes, the former Maricopa County recorder, same with him. He was trying to mail an early ballot to everybody. I was one of the only Republicans last spring pushing back against allowing that to happen. So I did an op-ed in the Arizona Republic. Chris Hurstum, who used to be one of the TV personalities on a local TV show, he came after us and basically we should be all shot and basically killed for not sending out a ballot. To me, I'm like, are you basically calling for my head? So I wrote an op-ed. I'm a writer, I'm a policy researcher, so it comes very natural for me to just want to sit and write and not go on TV or go on social media and fight back. I'd rather write and so they can actually see what I'm thinking and why. But I was one of the only members down at the legislature that was pushing back against that. And thankfully, Fontes got smacked and said, you can't do that. There's nothing in statute that allows you to do it. Unfortunately, he did it in a previous election. He did it for a school board election a few years ago. And unfortunately, every voter that received the mail-in ballot, whether they mailed it back or not, all of those school board overrides, they all passed. And it's because he went outside of his domain and mailed out an early ballot to everybody, even if they didn't ask for one. So we have problems that we've seen over the years that need to be addressed. Nothing's perfect, obviously, in this technological digital age. A lot of our statutes are just not modernized. So people are doing things that are not in compliance with what the technology has. So looking through the statutes and just kind of going through and fixing those, that's one solution. Obviously, after the audit results come in, you look at the evidence, you line it up, and you figure out where in statute we need to make changes. And that way we have hopefully more secure elections. And I've had people send their canceled voter registrations to my office saying that they don't trust the integrity of the election. And that really hurts me. It's one of our, rights that we have as Americans. Not every country you're allowed to go in and obviously vote, right? Everybody should have one legal vote. And we should have honest elections. And I just want to basically bring the office back to where it should be. I don't want it hyper-politicized like it currently is.
One, for the people that are moving here right now, most people think everything's great and stuff. So this is kind of behind the scenes stuff you don't see.
Right.
So overall, would you say everything's pretty good, but it could be better if everybody did what they were supposed to do?
I think if everybody was actually doing what they were supposed to do within statute, we would see less problems. Again, I haven't seen the audit results or the report. I don't serve in the Senate, so I will not be the first one to actually receive the results. But there are problems. To the extent, I don't know. And I'm not comfortable to actually talk about it, not knowing what all the problems are.
Sure.
Hopefully I can come back and we can talk about it later.
Can definitely do that. But, this plays into the things that you and I do, Angela, where this all has a direct impact on the values of the community and the housing in Arizona.
Absolutely. It's huge.
And so, especially if you're getting people that are sending back their cards saying, I'm not voting, I don't trust it, that's kind of hurting that area, especially since people like Shawna are representing certain areas.
Yeah, everybody deserves, a voice and should feel that, their vote's going to count for sure.
So now the good news is we still have great schools. We just got some bad board members.
We actually have a lot of really good schools out there. There's a few district schools that get good rankings from the U.S. News and World Reports here for Arizona. I think there's 2 district schools out of the top 10 here. All the other ones are basis schools. So anybody that's looking to move here who is potentially an engineer or a doctor, I'm guessing their kids probably have the same kind of DNA composition. A basis school is great. It's not for everybody. But again, the realtors know where the good schools are. One of my previous realtors like, oh, you should move to this neighborhood. It's got a great school. And I went and looked at the school and I'm like, it's got an A out front, but it's not really an A school. I went in and started asking questions about what they're teaching and, just kind of inspecting the classrooms. And I saw, some misspellings on the bulletin board. I'm like, we're not going here. We're not sending our kid here. I was an editor for a while for a newspaper. This would really just irk me all the time.
Yeah.
But, you have to find the right school for your kid. And with so much school choice, I would love to collaborate with the realtors and just say, hey, these are some of the things that we're doing. This is what you should be telling your clients whenever they move into the neighborhood. And I know there's always different specs because I've seen some of them, but not all of them all the time are updated.
So what would you say, where is the best place to go and look for that information?
Well, Arizona Charter School Association keeps track of a lot of the charter schools.
Okay.
If you go to Arizona Department of Education, they have a list of the schools by grade as well. I'm actually working on some of that stuff behind the scenes at my other job, basically looking for transparency. So parents and administrators and other individuals out there understand how much money is getting to the classroom. When the Auditor General says that barely 50% of the dollar, is getting into the classroom and most of it's sucked up into the administrative body, I believe there's a problem. A lot of district schools hate charter schools. A lot of superintendents around here, some of them even blog about how much they don't like charter schools. And it's competition. So if you don't like the fact that your kids are leaving and going to a different school, why don't you ask the parents through the exit survey, why are you leaving? And a lot of them don't do that. And I know whenever my son graduated from basis, their exit survey was like, what did you like? What did you not like? I mean, it's not like they were leaving, they were graduating, right?
Right.
So you have to look and see how to improve upon your current model. And if it's not working, you need to change it. It's like any business. So if the business is failing, people are going to go somewhere else, right? I mean, that's basically the indication they're going somewhere else.
Right.
So do you need to shift your business model to figure out exactly how to bring people back in? And the school system should be the same way. It really should be. I mean, that's a lot of money that we're pushing towards K-12 education, higher education in Arizona public schools. And I don't always feel that we're getting, our biggest bang for our buck.
Do you like it when people come up to you and ask you just basic questions? Because it seems to me a lot of people don't ask questions. They're just like, Shawna's my friend, check. Don't you like it better when they ask you questions and they learn?
I love sitting and talking to people. I mean, like I said, standing in a grocery line or a Target or somewhere, I enjoy talking to people around me to find out what the barometer is, right? You need to find out what the measurement is of what's going on in your community. And since I have 3 different cities, there's different problems all over the place, right? But I love whenever a parent contacts me and says, hey, I need some help navigating the school system. I'm like, well, I really don't want to do that on legislative time, so can you just come talk to me so I can actually give you what I really think, because I don't want to be under the microscope of being a legislator giving advice, right? Because I don't want that to be like a disclaimer. I want to basically be able to talk to them as a fellow mom, right? Hey, I've been through this. I used to do school tours all the time. You know, whenever my kids were younger, we checked at all sorts of different schools and make sure it was the right fit. And at the end of the day, I let my kids decide which school they went to. We went into one of the schools, Great Hearts, and my kids turned to me and said, Mom, yeah, you didn't tell us there was a school uniform. I said, you know what? I didn't want to go to a school with a uniform either, so I get it.
Yeah.
No, that's great and stuff. So what I find fascinating, too, is you're from Pennsylvania.
I am. I'm from outside of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
I left when I was 18, went to Syracuse University for my undergraduate degree. I spent 2 semesters off of campus when I was there. I worked at the New York State Assembly for 1 semester, and then I worked in a New York City public school, high school, for my last semester of college. So I was dropped in Manhattan, and we were a block from the World Trade Center towers back in 1997. And, you know, we worked in a very inner city school. It was a magnet school, so kids came from all 5 boroughs. A lot of them didn't want to be there. You know, you had your typical urban issues, and that's really what spurred me to want to help families later in life, you know, find the right school, because these parents, a lot of them were juggling multiple jobs. Not everybody spoke English. They were trying to get the best for their kid. They had heard that this, you know, magnet school was better than their local PS school, so the kid would sometimes be on a bus or the subway for an hour and a half, 2 hours, getting to a better situation, right? And I would hear stories from kids, you know, dad's in prison, you know, mom's doing drugs, grandma's raising me, all those things that you hear about in the urban city. I lived it for a semester. I went around and toured other schools when I was there. I got to see really wonderful public schools like Stuyvesant. I also got to see some of the schools that were closing, and we actually went into a school that was about to close, and it closed by the time that I had left. So you actually get to see different models, and I think it's the same thing, like as a parent going into some of these schools to figure out where your kid would best fit, because every kid's different. You shouldn't have one model and just force everybody into it, because it doesn't work.
No,
know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, there's a ton of people from Pennsylvania and Arizona. Tons.
I know.
Well, I hate snow. So my first year at Syracuse University, we had 210 inches of snow.
Wow.
Oh my
No
goodness.
thanks.
And it was flipping cold. It was
Yes.
Between -40 and -50 plus wind chill in the wintertime. And
thank you.
I'm from Pittsburgh. I thought I could handle the winter, but that was just like on steroids.
Yeah.
No, that's crazy. So, what's your passion with Arizona? I mean, it's first of all, people that come from Pennsylvania love Arizona, so I understand that part of it. But tell us how. I mean,
It's Goldwater country. I mean, just so when I was 5, we came out and visited Arizona for the first time. So 1980 was the first time that I came out here and stepped foot in here. This place looks so different than whenever I was first here.
Right?
And we were here in a dead of summer. We actually came here for, I think, 2 or 3 weeks. And my dad worked for the airlines. Back then it was U.S. Airways. And he rented a Chevette for all 4 of us and our luggage for a couple weeks in a dead of summer. And I still loved it. You know, we went all over the place. We walked across the border because it was definitely a lot different back then. But I loved the heat, and it was a dry heat. It wasn't humid when we were here. It wasn't rainy at all. Very dusty, very brown. You know, I got home and everyone's like, "You look like a baked potato." I'm like, "Well, we were out in the sun like the whole time, you know." So,
Yeah.
And parts of the Grand Canyon we traveled to. I mean, my dad in that little Chevette, that thing did not travel very well up and down the hill. But you know, my husband and I, when we met each other, we actually did a matrix to figure out exactly where we should move to, because he didn't want to live in Texas. I was commuting back and forth to see him. I had left D.C. He was still in D.C. And I said to him, I said, "I'm not moving back there. That place is horrible. It's a swamp. Can't get anything done." As a policy person, I said it would just be a total waste of my time. He had already been there for 16 years, so I pulled him out. But we looked at San Diego. We looked at Vegas. We looked at Austin, where I was living, and we looked at here, and everything measured up. And my husband had done some litigation on the school choice front, and had known the Goldwater Institute. He had done a sabbatical here. We knew some people here. And for me, I wanted to live in a place where I didn't have to fork over most of my paycheck to send him to a private school. Because some of the district schools that we had seen in Virginia just weren't very good, even some of the ones in Texas. So having that passion, my kids have had that passion for a long time. I actually had my son testify when he was about 7 years old, talking about how great his charter school was, explaining why he chose a charter over the district. He had just done a summer camp at one of the local district schools by our house. And they wouldn't let him advance his reading over the summer. So instead of reading enrichment is what it was called, they were trying to stifle where he was reading, his reading level. And when he was pretty young, he was reading Harry Potter. And I'm like, well, read whatever you want. I'm loving the fact that you actually want to go read books, I don't care if it's a comic book. I don't care if it's Harry Potter. But the teachers over there were stifling kind of like his advancement. Arizona has wonderful people from all over the place. You can go out hiking. We live really close to a hiking trail. When it's not higher than 90 degrees, we go out and hike. We've got 3 dogs. Most of our dogs love to go out, except for whenever it's over about 70 or 80. They're black dogs, so they don't like the sun. I love the restaurants around here. I love the small businesses. I moved here 20 years ago. This place looks so different than whenever we first moved here. Desert Ridge had just been built when we moved here. So our first realtor was trying to get us to move up there. She's like, this is going to be the Mall of America. I said, I don't want the traffic. So not knowing that it wasn't really going to be the Mall of America, I said to my husband, we're not moving anywhere where there's going to be tons of people driving around. We've lived in the North Phoenix area since we've moved here. We first lived over by North Mountain. Then we lived by Squaw Peak. I'm going to still say Squaw Peak because that's what it was called whenever I moved here. Yeah. And we live on Lookout now. So we love Lookout Mountain. It's by Moon Valley. Very cool. Very volcanic across the way. People are just down to earth, normal here. And it reminds me of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's very down to earth. Sometimes when I've traveled back and I've gotten lost in my old city, people will literally like say, hey, I've got 5 minutes. I can drive you down to where you need to go. And I get some of that same down-to-earth, old-fashioned, I want to help my neighbor out here in Phoenix. I don't know how it is across the rest of the valley. I spend most of my time in Phoenix. Sure. But just the people here, they're wonderful.
Yeah, but you love Arizona, and you know a lot about it, unlike some people lived here forever and they don't know anything about Arizona.
Exactly, yeah.
And so doing what you're doing.
And I enjoy going around the state. So now I'm going to be driving all over the state and see even more different parts that I've never seen before.
Yeah.
But, I wrote a book back in 2004. I self-published a book, and it was called Playtime in Phoenix. And it basically expanded upon different places to take your kids, educational purposes, but also travel as well. And my husband and I, we were traveling around early on, obviously, with both of our kids. I published it whenever my second was, getting baked in there. So we published it. Well, I published it, and it's a great resource because you can. Well, it's old now, but you could actually see some of the stuff that was educational or day trips away. We love to hike, so we would find different hiking trails. We still try to do that. We're both very busy. Obviously, our kids are older now. They're teenagers, so they don't want to spend hours on the weekend, in the car with mom and dad.
Right.
But we actually used to go up to Pine a lot. We had a house up there, so we would spend a lot of time up there when they were younger and just explore that entire area. And it's just very historical, very beautiful. Again, the people in rural Arizona, they are some of the best people you'll ever meet, and kind of like give you their shirt off the back and just say, hey, we're going to roll out the red carpet for you. If you've never been to any of the rodeos, those rodeos are just so patriotic.
Yeah, so fun.
It's amazing, and it's rodeo season right now, so I've got my boots in my car, and I'm ready to start that circuit.
Yeah.
Well, another area that's really great is like the reservations. When you get on although it's sad on some of them, but they're
it is
really,
very sad.
really great people.
Yes.
I mean, they're just, they're out there to live. So you're not looking to actually make Arizona better. You just want to you want to make the great things better, but keep it kind of going the way it.
I would love to make the state better. But what does that look like? So my opinion might be different than somebody else's. I love the old feel, going to Tombstone. I don't want to get rid of any history at all. I want our kids to actually learn about some of this stuff in school. Some of the stuff that they are learning in school. I'm like, this has nothing to do with history or science or math, reading, writing. We should get back to the basics on that. But Arizona has so much history here, and taking your kids out on field trips and going to the caverns and spelunking and everything, I think every kid should be able to do that. Obviously, not everybody has the resources to do it, even field trips out of schools, but it's out there. And just, get off your sofa, turn off your Xbox, turn off the TV, shut down Netflix for the day, go find somewhere and explore it. There's so many cool places, and there's so many great places to eat and, try different foods around here too.
Yeah.
There is. Growing up out here, 'cause I grew up on a horse ranch.
Right.
We used to drink out of a hose.
Oh, yeah, me
And it was
too.
no big deal.
It was
In
a
my front
spigot,
yard.
right?
It was
Yeah.
a spigot,
Yeah,
exactly.
we got that too.
So it was
Yeah,
great.
same.
So Shawna, how can people reach out to you personally and maybe donate money, time, whatever they need to?
Oh, all the above would be wonderful. Time is great. Our website is bolickforarizona.com. It's BOLICKFORARIZONA.com. I answer some of my own emails. I'm a very type A person, so I am learning how to allow some of my staff actually read through my emails with me and for me, and some of them are even checking voicemails. But if it's a person that I know, I have been actually responding and talking to them and just setting up meetings with new people. And I expect to, keep building out our network. I call it our Bolick Brigade. It's on my Facebook page. And those individuals who are really passionate about elections integrity, I'm asking them to join my task force. So things that they may have seen in their county, we have 15 counties here. Everybody has different stuff that happen. They weren't all following the same, statutes and procedures as they were supposed to. If we could all get them to do that, that would be wonderful. But unfortunately that they weren't. But anybody that I've been talking to that has issues that they saw, if they haven't already forwarded it to the Elections Integrity Unit with the Attorney General's office, I've been suggesting they do that, or I've been forwarding it for them. But I would love to have them on my team. We hit, I think, 25,000 houses when I went door to door in my last legislative race, and we wrote for the general election with my team of volunteers, because it was all volunteers. I think we hand wrote about 13,000 postcards to independents to turn our way, because again, it's a very competitive district, and we needed independents and Democrats to win our race, and I'm thankful that the voters trust me for our second term.
Isn't it great you can get elected officials like this to come on and and you actually answer phones, emails?
I do.
Right.
My assistant's like, did you see that email that came in from so-and-so? I said, yeah. I responded. She's like, oh, no. She'll go and look at the sentence. She's like, okay.
No, and this is how it should be. So
awesome.
Arizona
Yes.
still has a small town feel a little bit,
Right.
even though we're big. But the
Yeah.
fact that you can reach out to someone like Shawna and say, hey, you want to come on the show, or can you answer this question about the school or this or that?
Yes.
I mean, that's what makes
It's
Arizona
everything.
great.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a citizen legislature. Most of us have another job outside. We also obviously have families and parents. So for me, it's like the more that you are like a normal person, you're representing we the people. And you shouldn't be put on this pedestal ever. I don't care if you're here in Congress, on city council, you should always be accessible to your constituents.
No,
like
absolutely. So real quick, we got to let some people know about you. Favorite song? What kind
All
of
I Want Is
music?
You. You two's my favorite group.
Okay.
I've seen them I don't know how many times in concert. When I was in high school, I had, I think, row 19 in Three River Stadium in Pittsburgh, and I made my way all the way to the first row. My boyfriend was left back there somewhere, and he found me at some point. This is before cell phones, right?
Yes.
But I was up in the front row. I love Bono. I love, I travel all over to see them whenever I can.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then you have a favorite movie? Because I know you don't have time to watch any TV. But
Yeah, I liked sneakers growing up. I mean, I was a huge River Phoenix fan. I don't have a lot of time to watch movies, and unfortunately, I don't like Hollywood all that much. So I'm like, I don't think I even want to give you any of my money.
And then you and your husband, do you guys get to go out to eat quite a bit?
So thank you for asking that. So we don't get to go out on a lot of dates. So what we usually do is like pull resources and go somewhere fancy. So like Cafe Monarch is one of our favorite places. We went over to Christopher's new restaurant. Maybe the second or third week that he had it over at Wrigley Mansion. I almost forgot about what. If you haven't been in there, that redo is amazing. The food is amazing. It's just a fun experience.
And
It's
it's a couple weeks to get in, too, isn't it? You can't just get in.
we put our name on a waiting list early on, got in. We were sitting outside. So you think the fact that you don't have air conditioning right now. We were actually sitting outside. It was one of the hottest weeks in May. And because they didn't have us inside for whatever reason, we were sitting outside. There were some misters out there, but it was kind of the same experience as what we're experiencing right now. But it was such a cool thing. I don't want to take away the experience for you, but it was just, we're foodies. So for our 20th anniversary, we tried going to California last year. We flew over to go to the French Laundry. And I don't know if you've ever been there. It's very...
Did you hang out with Gavin Newsom?
We went 2 weeks after he was allowed in. We weren't allowed in because the state shut down. Literally, like 2 hours after our plane landed, they shut all the indoor dining down again. No, so what they had done, they had converted parking lots into like outdoor dining. They closed the outdoor dining. It was all to go. So we were pretty upset, but we just went back. We went back, like, I think 2 weeks before Memorial Day and had the experience. But I got to tell you, Christopher's is way better. So just stay here, reach out to the locals.
Oh, that's great.
And I hadn't been to French Laundry in probably 10 years. My husband and I have been married 21 years this year. So that was our 20th year anniversary present to ourselves, but we had to go back a second time. I love the local folks. You can walk in and sometimes I'll talk to them. Binkley's, whenever Binkley's had closed down their Cave Creek location and moved down here, or Carefree. He had Binks in Carefree, and then he had
Binkley's.
the other place. So whenever he downsized and came down here, we came down, and my husband was in the back, like, shaving truffles, and I'm like, that's kind of cool. You don't like truffles, and here you are shaving them, But we don't get to go out all that often. We're very busy, so we'll bank something fun, like, every couple months, and it's good. You got to reconnect every now and then.
Yeah.
See that, Angela? We got some great restaurants
I know.
here.
I'm excited.
There's some really cool places.
I'm going to tell my husband.
Well, Shawna, let everyone know again how to reach out to you.
Yes. Bolick for Arizona. It's BOLICK for FOR, Arizona, ARIZONA.com. I would love your help. Any backing that anybody can give is wonderful. Donations are even better. We'll probably do another postcard campaign. I just don't know to what level, but a lot of people were super excited. Because of the pandemic last year, some people weren't comfortable going door to door. Some people didn't want to be on the phone. So it was a great opportunity to actually get the message out and involve people. It was very cool. But you should have seen, I have pictures on social media of all the postcards that were mailed.
No, this is great.
It was insane.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking your time to come on here. I know you're super
thank
swamped
you.
and everything else.
Yeah.
And Angela,
Appreciate it.
so
Yeah.
people need to get qualified so they can eat some of the great restaurants out here. How do they do it?
Absolutely. You can call the Hendrick team, 623-979-5523, or email hendrickteam@vipmtginc.com.
So this is Arizona. This is the kind of stuff we have here in Arizona. It's awesome.
It is awesome.
It's great. Shawna?
Thanks for having me on.
No, thanks for
Yeah,
coming
thank
on.
you so
See you
much.
guys.
Thank you.
It's like really such an honor that we
Yes.
get to do this.
I know.
So we get to meet some great people. People that are
many
going to be
great
leading
people.
Arizona. Interview your leaders. You have to
Yes.
if you want to know what's going on.
Yeah, get involved.
So
Hold their feet to the fire.
yeah, hold their feet to the fire for sure. Just like if you're buying a house, make sure you reach out to the Grandon Group, Arizona's #1 brother and sister real estate team. Hey, we'll see you guys next week on the Lockbox. See you soon.